look at it this way, is there is so many opportunities to work with people. I wish if I could go back in time, I hid behind the scene. I didn't go out. People didn't know who I was. I was working with some of the biggest companies in the world, and I told nobody. It was just like, yeah, you know.
All right, welcome back to the Adam Nessum Show. I have an awesome guest with me today. I'm super excited for this one. We have Paul Getter, who is a leader in the internet marketing space. In 2009, Paul Getter was broke, struggling, and delivering phone books out of the back of his car. After teaching himself about the power of internet marketing, he created the Internet Marketing Nerds and quickly became one of the most sought-after marketing experts in the world. He has spent over $1 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars running ads and campaigns for his clients, and has helped scale numerous businesses into 8 figures per year. He also is very active on social media, especially Instagram, with over 1 million followers. So thank you so much for being here, Paul. Really excited to talk with you.
Thanks a lot, Adam. You're reading that introduction, like, who in the world is he talking about? This guy is amazing. Yeah, thanks a lot for that introduction, bro. I appreciate it.
Pretty awesome story. Would love to kind of go back to the beginnings, and would like to hear more about how in 2009 you went from broke, struggling, leaving your job. I saw your backstory a little bit. How did you become the internet marketing nerd?
Yeah. So, oh man, I tell you what, my friends will pick on me for being called a guru. So yeah, no. So, back in 2009, 2008 was a crazy year. And I apologize, Adam, this happens like every time I get on an awesome podcast. I think the maintenance man says, hey, Paul's on a podcast. Let's go over there and weed eat. And so
that's all good.
Some noise out there, no
problem.
So 2008 was a crazy year for people, not as crazy as 2020, but it's a crazy time in the economy. And I found myself kind of like, I guess you would say, in between jobs, and never had any formal education. I graduated college with a degree in theology. Theology is like Bible studies and everything like that. Found out really quickly that wasn't a very marketable degree, but you go there for the learning experience. But so I was in between jobs, and to make spare money or to make any money, I was delivering phone books, which I don't even know if people know what phone books are nowadays, but
we probably have some listeners to this podcast that do not.
Phone book, what is that? But it was this big encyclopedia looking book that had everybody's phone number in it. But think about that, Adam. Everybody's phone number was in this book. You just like, look it up. It's crazy. But so we were loading my minivan up with phone books and delivering them. I think we were getting like $50, $60 a night. And during the day, I was working at a merchant processing company doing sales there. And the supervisor was just I tell you what, a very mean, angry guy. He would come into the office just yelling and screaming at people, just a hostile work environment. I was just sick of it. And one day I went up to him and I was like, look, man, if you keep talking to people like this, we don't like it. You're upsetting people, and it's not a pleasant place to work at. You acting like this. And of course, that didn't go too well with him. He's like, oh, Paul, you keep talking to me like that, you're going to get fired. And I was like, well, I'm not going to give him a chance to fire me. I just said, I quit.
All right. Pull the trigger.
Yeah. I'm not going to give you the privilege of firing me. So I quit and I left. And at that time, I was kind of playing around with building websites. Think about it, 2008, 2009, internet was kind of in its infancy stages, and businesses were still kind of a little apprehensive about jumping on the internet, building websites and stuff. But I would find people, hey, I could build you a website, and I kind of learned how to build websites. But it started there. It started at building websites. And then I remember one day a friend of mine said, Paul, you need to get on Facebook. Instagram didn't even exist then. It's probably MySpace was probably more popular then. But they said, you need to get on the Facebook so we can stay connected. I'm heading off to college. and I got on Facebook, and I thought, this is a waste of time. This is just people playing games and stuff. But I set up a Facebook page for our church because I saw other businesses were doing that. So I set up a page for our church. And I remember the first time, Adam, someone came to church I didn't recognize. I said, "Where'd you hear about us?" And they said, "We saw your page on Facebook." And then it was like a light bulb went off. I'm like, whoa, these are real people. And then I realized, okay, a lot of businesses could probably benefit from being on Facebook too. But that's kind of how it started, of me getting into the world of Facebook.
That was the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Got it. So then what happened from going from there to basically running ads for some of the bigger names in the space, as we've talked about off camera, and having this entire empire of the internet marketing nerds?
Yeah. So I started realizing Facebook, when Facebook first started, they didn't have an ad platform that you couldn't run ads. But when they first started implementing ads, I started playing around with that and growing people's Facebook pages and helping people. I figured that out really quickly, how to grow Facebook pages. And I had a large portfolio of just pages that I built as a hobby. And people would reach out to me, "Hey, will you share my content?" And they would pay me, $40, $50. I was like, wow, people are really, I didn't understand how I could really monetize it outside of just sharing people's content. They would pay me for shout outs. But the word got around and people would start messaging my pages. And I noticed, like, authors, "Hey, would you share my book?" And other companies. And then it just kind of evolved. Like, I'm working with bigger and bigger people. I had movies reach out to me because I'd build pages to 1 million likes in like a month, because the organic reach and stuff was completely different back then. But I'd build these pages and movies would reach out to me, and authors and, bigger companies. I just share their content. And then I started messaging them, conversations started. I'm like, "Look, if you're just trying to hire me to grow your page, let me grow your page for you, and you can pay me versus just having me do a shout out." And so
that makes sense.
Relationships got started. And I remember one day I was in my house and I got a phone call, and someone said, "Hey, we see that you're building pages and doing this." And I was talking to a guy, and he told me to give you a call. And so he just started asking me questions, and "How do you do this?" And he said, "Hey, will you look at what we're doing and tell me your opinion?" And I looked at them. They had me looking at their ads there and stuff. I was like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. You need to do it this way. And they were paying, like, for example, 10 cents a click. I said, "Oh, no, if you do it this way, you can get 1 cent or,
right.
5 clicks for a penny or something." And they're like,
"Not anymore," but
yeah. But back in the day, you could.
Yeah.
And then, so I got off the call with them, and 10 minutes later, he called me up and he said, "Hey, man, just wanted to know, could you fly out to Beverly Hills tomorrow? We'll take care of everything. You fly out here tomorrow. My brother wants to talk to you and meet with our marketing team." And I said, "You're going to fly me out to Beverly Hills?" And yeah, that sounds great. And that happened to be who I was talking to that day, was Ty Lopez's brother. And so I flew out to Beverly Hills and sat with Ty Lopez, his team, talked with them, and kind of gave him a little presentation of what I could do. And when he was done, he said, "So when can you start? When can you start setting up our ads and stuff?" I said, "Well, I'll go back to the hotel. I can start now." So
there you go. Jump on the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's awesome. So I know also now you talk a lot about different side hustles that people can have, whether they're still stuck in that 9-to-5 job, or maybe this could even be applicable to, we have a lot of students who watch and listen to this podcast that they're trying to make some extra money. What are some of the side hustles that you think right now are the best for people to get into that you talk about in your book?
So I tell you what, this, I got a book, 27 Online Side Hustles.
There it is.
And that it's really kind of unlike what I normally teach, because I do teach Facebook ads, marketing and everything. But I'd have friends and family come up to me and they're like, "Hey, Paul, will you teach me how to do what you do?" And I'm like, "You got a year or so? I can."
It's exactly. It's very,
Yeah.
it's going to be complicated to get to that point right away and start making money.
Yeah.
That's a skill that really needs to be acquired.
Yeah, but I kind of understood what they were saying. They're like, "Hey, I want to learn how to do something that is making money online." So what I did in about September or October of last year is I just went through various YouTube channels and found people that were doing amazing things online that was like real legitimate stuff, not like, take 1,000 surveys and make $5, not that, but like legitimate stuff. And I interviewed a young boy 17 years old in high school that made $20,000 online. And I interviewed him. I'm like, what did you do? And he put ads on Craigslist. "Do you have an old phone that you want to get rid of? I'll buy it from you for cash." And he would buy old cell phones from people for like $50, clean it up, fix it up, and then flip it, put it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace for $100. He did that just as a side hustle, made $20,000 as a student in high school. $20,000 in high school.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So flipping cell phones, that was one of the side hustles that I talked about. I interviewed a lady who was vacationing down in South America somewhere, and this would be great for students. There's various websites that you can log on to, set up a profile. You take a test on your written and verbal English, and then you can teach people English. And she, like 4 hours a day, she taught students over in China basic conversational English, where she would get on calls with them, Zoom calls or whatever. She said, "I just do this from my phone, talk to kids. There's not even really a basic curriculum. It's just having conversations, making sure they're saying things right." And she was making a full-time income doing this. And she was a student between her bachelor's and master's degree. And she was doing this on the side. So there's so many different cool things that are real legitimate. I wanted to kind of like, sometimes when you say make money online, people are like, scam. But
yeah, for sure.
There's so many things that you can do to make money online. There's sites like Upwork, Fiverr, where you can set up, you might have skills that you have that people will hire you to write, to proofread, to edit videos or photos for them. So if you've got a skill that people would pay you for, there's sites like Upwork, sites like Fiverr, that you can put your gig up there and people will hire you. So there's so many different opportunities. We're really living a cool time that you can legitimately make money online. You don't have to do anything scammy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you could do it even if you're working a full-time job or you're a full-time student. I mean, look at me. And we've done some work together. I started my company while in medical school. So for any students out that are interested in making a little bit of money, there are opportunities out there. I still have to give a disclaimer. Please put your academics first, especially if you're applying to something like medical school. I know we have a lot of listeners on this podcast that are applying to different grad programs, but if you can manage it, there are definitely opportunities during a gap year or whatever it is, like Paul just mentioned, that you can really make some money in today's economy and the way the world is all online today, and a lot of different opportunities you might not even think about.
Absolutely. It's in, especially when you're in college, $500 a month goes a long way. And you can find something like that you can do just an hour or so a day. It doesn't consume a whole lot of your time, and you can do it from the convenience of your dorm, your home, whatever, versus going to a 9-to-5 check-in at a job. So that's the convenience of it.
100%. Great advice. So what would you say, do you think it's getting for entrepreneurs now, going a little bit away from, the side hustle, but like someone who's actually trying to start a business, do you think it's more competitive today? I know like the entrepreneur space is kind of getting saturated. Mm-hmm. And what would be your advice for anyone who's trying to start their own business?
Yeah. So I actually believe that there is zero competition. Zero competition.
Interesting.
I don't even believe in the word competition. Nobody can compete with you, Adam. Nobody can compete with you. You are you. You have your own gifts, your own talents, your own knowledge, experience. So people that work with you, they will work with you. So the competition mentality is like I had that. So before I really got out there, I was afraid. I was working with Ty Lopez. I was working with these big names, but nobody knew who I was because I was like behind the scene just with my computer because I was afraid if somebody knew what I knew, then they could take my clients or they could become competition. But I realized like when I get out there, the people that I work with, it's very relationship based. There may be people that can do what I do, but when you put relationships before revenue, then it's kind of like, hey, I've got a relationship. People want to work with me because I got an awesome bow tie, and so
100%.
it's really, think of this. People don't just work with you because of your service, but they work with you because of kind of who you are and your personality and all of that. So remove competition mentality and then look at it this way: there is so many opportunities to work with people. I wish if I could go back in time, I hid behind the scene. I didn't go out. People didn't know who I was. I was working with some of the biggest companies in the world, and I told nobody. It was just like, yeah, don't. But because I was concerned, afraid, or whatever it might be. But when you get out there as an entrepreneur, you go to conferences, you learn, you build relationships with people. You can't put a price tag on that. And that's one of the fastest ways to grow as an individual and as an entrepreneur in particular is when you network, you go to conferences, you go to events, you build relationships with other entrepreneurs. You don't see them as competition, but you see 100%. Them as an opportunity for collaboration. I always tell people collaboration versus competition. So
it's exactly what I tell my students all the time when they're competing against each other, feel like they need to. Actually collaborating, everyone rises to the top together.
Absolutely.
For the most part.
It's so much funner that way too. Yeah.
Completely agree. And I like your mindset of it's a more of an abundance mindset versus scarcity. I think that I do agree. There really doesn't need to be that need for feeling like you have to outdo your competitors because there's so much opportunity out there. And honestly, good karma will come back to you. There will be times where I'll even shout out my competitors if I think that they can help a student in a way that, let's say, I can, or if they have something that I think is valuable.
So wise to do. It's like if I'm interviewing someone for a coaching call or something like that, a client, and I think, you know what? This friend of mine is better at that. They have more experience. I'll say, hey, I'm going to do you a favor and me a favor. And I'm going to tell you, talk to this guy. So many times, and it's a dangerous thing is you try to work with people just because there's money opportunity, but you have to look like, can I really help them? And if you can really help them, then say yes. But if you can't, do them a favor and you a favor and send them to somebody else.
100%. So you mentioned that you were hiding behind the camera for a long time. Now you're obviously not and have grown a big social media following. How important do you think that is in today's age to have brand awareness and your name out there for like business and just in general opportunities?
Yeah. So again, it's something, and I'm thankful that individuals like Ty Lopez, like Grant Cardone, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, those people that I worked with, they really pushed me. I mean, I can remember times that, I had a small Instagram following and everything like that. And then one day I get 20 messages from random people. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, oh yeah, Ty Lopez was talking about a conference and he mentioned you. I'm like, whoa, wow, that's really cool.
Wow.
And so it's so important for a personal brand, building a personal brand, that you are the brand. I look at guys like Shaq, who what an amazing personal brand he has. He's first and foremost, we know him as a basketball player, a legend in the NBA, but now he's not in the NBA anymore. He has retired, but he has leveraged and built such an amazing personal brand that he is the face of General Car Insurance. He is Frosted Flakes, like foot powder or something like that. I mean, it's like I'm walking through Walgreens. I'm like, oh yeah, there's Shaq. There's Shaq.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, and it's because he's built such a great personal brand that he's not selling basketballs, because his personal brand has transcended, one particular area. So when you build a good personal brand, you add value, you sow into people, you are not limited to one particular field or one particular business, because people will see you as a brand ambassador or an influencer or something. So, so that's something that I'm working on. I'm personally, I do as many podcasts as I can because I want to reach, I want to help people. And, so if it's a podcast with medical students, I'm going to do it because I sincerely want to help people. And if there's something in me or what I do that can help them, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think, first of all, again, thank you for your time. I think the advice you're giving is applicable to really anyone who's trying to get themselves out there and build either a brand for themselves or take up different opportunities. We also do have other listeners that are medical students as well. So I think that'll definitely resonate with them. Cool. But for someone who, and one more question, I know you have a lot of calls probably today, so I want to respect your time. But for someone who has worked with some big names and helped grow social media accounts, what would you give as advice to somebody who's just starting out, really not even sure if they want to get onto social media? Obviously, there are some drawbacks to it as well. But what would you say to them in how to start and what they should be thinking about when they put themselves out there?
Yeah, so this is a tricky situation. It's something that I personally wrestle with, and even talking with people. I'm like, what is the best advice in this? Because one area you want to treat it like a business, but another area you just want to be real authentic. Hey, this is who I am. Doesn't have to be. A lot of times people don't do it because it's not polished enough. And I just read a great quote on Instagram, and it was something like, look, if your first shot at doing something didn't embarrass you, you waited too long. And I'm kind of one of those people, like, sure, I will get paralyzed by perfection. I want it to be absolutely perfect before I do it. And what happens is, number one, is you wait too long or you never do it. And so you got to put the imperfections out there. You got to do that. And don't get obsessed in the numbers, because things always change. I mean, like I said, there used to be a day on Facebook and Instagram and social medias that you post pictures of, your food, and all of a sudden I got 500 new followers because people like the picture of my food, so, but if you lead with value, so a lot of my friends and coaching students and stuff like that during this crazy time of COVID, they called me up or messaged me like, Paul, what do I do now? What my business? And they were very nervous and concerned about their business. And I said, man, just help people. Just really help people. That's like, sometimes people in this time, they're afraid to sell something because they don't want to come across as salesy. But when you see that you have a product or service that can really help people, like Adam, what you do, you help people. So when you can say, hey, selling is helping, then you're not afraid to sell, because you know that what you have is valuable and it's worth it. So because you're helping people, so lead with helping. The numbers, the growth and everything like that will happen. And it may not be as fast or as, the way that you see it, but the quality that you get may be better. So I think that leading with value always wins. Obviously, I am a growth hacker. I can tell you some really cool things to do to accelerate your growth on social media. But if you're not leading with value, any growth hack or little things like that really is not going to be as valuable as, having content that helps people.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And really, when you are putting yourself out there, it should be with the idea of helping people first, like you said, putting out free value, free content,
Yeah.
and being able to, like, a lot of times I feel good about what I'm doing, even though I obviously have a program. I have tons of expenses, and therefore my program costs money, and I'm able to then reinvest that and make it even better. But I also am able to give my ebook out to any student that needs, put out lots of content, respond to DMs, and really try and help as many people as I can just from that. Yeah. And that's why I think I've been able to grow and see some level of success as well. So I think that's great advice for anyone listening who wants to get started. Just think of what knowledge you have to be able to give to the world, and just be authentic with it. And don't be afraid to have a few embarrassing posts, because, oh my God, if I think back to my original post that when I first started on social media, it is so embarrassing. But those are stories for another time.
I always tell people, I'm like, scroll all the way down to the bottom of my Instagram, and it tells a funny story, because there was times when I was posting viral cat videos on my Instagram because I was trying to see what causes
what would work, right?
What works. And so I tried and I did it. My Instagram was like a guinea pig for everybody else. So
very nice. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time.
Hey,
I think this was,
Adam, it's been my privilege.
Was really awesome. And where can our listeners find you?
Hey, well, so one of the first places they can find me is on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Paul. Just
amazing.
Paul.
Amazing. You got the first name, just the first name.
Yeah. I also have the Instagram handle Nerds. It's kind of like my playground. But my primary verified Instagram account is Paul. Send me a message there. I'm always in my DMs. Love to connect with people and build relationships. You can also visit my website to learn more about me. My website is paulgetter.com.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. If you want to hear more about the different side hustles or how to get started on social media, go check out Paul Getter at Paul on Instagram.
Thanks a lot, Adam. You're awesome,
Thanks
man.
so much.